and host of Cosmopolitics on Substack. And you can see there why President Ramaphosa was a negotiator for the anti-apartheid government, because he had extraordinary patience in trying to explain to Trump that what he is claiming there in the Oval Office for the world to see is just not true.
That's right. And he also, brought some props with him. He brought some South African golfers, a coffee table book. He knows that, he needs to kind of, in this feudal system, bring gifts to President Trump. It wasn't enough to stop that ambush, but he tried to, correct the facts, let him know that the majority, and there is a lot of crime in South Africa, the majority is not against whites, it's against blacks. The majority is not against farmers, as you said in the intro. President Trump didn't want to hear any of it. It wasn't till one of the golfers and one of the white billionaires that he brought with him kind of said, look, President Trump, this is what's going on. And I think that's when, then there was a joke about the jet, which we'll talk about later. But that's when I think the meeting kind of turned and the tensions were lowered a little bit.
This is straight out of the conspiracy land of the far right. And it is not based in fact. And it's amazing that this has actually become the foreign policy of the United States based on just straight up. I mean, we have the numbers. It is completely unsubstantiated. I mean, Scott,
you're saying it's not true that some white farmers have been murdered?
No, it's not true that there is a genocide against white farmers.
Okay, whatever you call it, have white farmers been murdered?
Actually, how many
have violence been committed against white farmers?
How many white farmers? Hold on a second. How many white farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
I don't know. Several. I mean, they asked.
No. How many?
I don't know. Several.
I know why you don't know. Because those numbers don't exist broken down by race.
I mean, I know this. I wouldn't trust the South African government to tell me. I know that.
How many black farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
Look. You guys are so triggered over 59 people.
No, I'm not.
After we left 20 million people in the country. I don't know why you're so triggered.
Haven't even brought up the white people that Trump picked out because they were white and told them they could come to the country.
How much racial killing are you going to condone?
There are 19,000 murders in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government is a credible source?
The other 29, hold on a second. The 29 victims who were included in the farm killings were farm employees who tend to be black. So the vast majority of people killed on farms in South Africa are black. Where is the concern about them?
The concern is that there are white farmers who have had violence committed against them, and they're being threatened. They're being threatened every single day. There's 59 people,
hold on a second.
And you're triggered about 59 people, and I don't know why.
I haven't mentioned anything about 59 people.
Substantiate white
why are you only concerned about white people?
I'm only concerned about this story because these 59 people asked for status. They're getting status, and now everybody's freaking out about it.
They didn't ask for anything.
There is no evidence that white people have been targeted. Some white people in the larger issue of farmers, in the larger issue of violence, have been part of this violence. But there is no.
Why are they trying to get out? Why are they? If there's no,
Scott, the
why
majority,
are they trying to leave?
The majority of
have you seen the videos of the people saying "kill the white farmers"?
The Afrikaners do not want to leave.
What do you think the phrase "kill the white farmers" means?
Yeah, that's a phrase that the ANC. That was a phrase that was against the anti-apartheid movement. But the ANC, who's ruling the government, the president's government, has disavowed that phrase, has disavowed it in songs, and there's no evidence that white people are being targeted. And the majority of Afrikaners do not want to leave.
They're not a part of the government, Scott. Right. You're taking a fringe movement and you're trying to make it a characteristic
of an entire
nation.
It is the height of racism to say that white people have to be exempted from all violence in any society. And that is what is being said here. If we cannot say, there is no white genocide happening, there is no farm genocide happening, and the argument is some white people have been killed, even though 27,000 murders happened in that country. What are we saying? If anybody of one racial group is murdered, then that constitutes a refugee status for that particular group.
When the president has also ended the refugee program for all other people in actual war.
There is actual war.
No, I don't understand. I'm not triggered. You want them to stay, and I guess you want them to have violence committed against them. Does that make you happy?
Go ahead and comment, and then I'll let Sherman.
Violence against all people is wrong.
I agree with you.
Including the white farmers, but also including the black people that live in Africa. There are 1.5 billion people that live in the continent of Africa.
Violence of any kind.
There are 1.5 billion people that live in Africa.
Okay.
There are 63 million people that live in South Africa. Mm-hmm. There were 59 people that were extracted out of a continent of 1.5 billion people and brought to our country. And what color were those people? White.
So?
And where were there other places where genocide is happening in the continent? Where 1.5 billion. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I want to know. No. I want you to have a complete. I want you to have. I can have a complete thought. I want you to have a complete thought.
My thought
you are okay.
These people are under threat, and now they're coming here, and you're enraged that they're not still under threat.
Can you say that in addition to the 7 potential white farmers that were murdered, the 18,082,000 black folks that were murdered in the country, that's a problem too?
Yes, all violence is a problem.
Yes, and maybe perhaps
the government's policies are targeting these particular people with land confiscation, and they're being targeted with violence.
That's incorrect.
There have been no farms taken from any white people yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
but
so?
the laws, do the laws not allow it?
There is a law, but it hasn't been.
There is a law, but
no, but
they're being targeted.
Kind of like the Constitution.
People
Hold on, guys.
I
think that
they're threatening them.
Hold on. A lot is being said right now, including many things that are not true.
What's not true?
So the land. Let's talk about the land for a second.
It is. It's the law.
Scott, just 1 second. Let's talk about the land. The land. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's talk about the land. I'm going to take this one at a time because I think it's really important. 81% of the land, the vast majority, 96% of the private land in South Africa is owned by white people, despite black people being the vast majority of the population, 81%. The president of South Africa pointed this out today, that the United States has eminent domain laws that allows the state to seize land
on the basis
from
of race?
People. Hold on, from people if they want to. And here's what the New York Times writes about what the Trump administration did.
Time now for our daily fact-checking show, Truth or Fake. Vedika Behel joins me in the studio. Hi, Vedika. So we're staying with this story. As we've been mentioning, Donald Trump ambushed Ramaphosa with a clip and news articles that allegedly proved that there is a white genocide against South African farmers. But some of the elements that he showed are, in fact, misleading. Tell us more.
That's right, Yinka. I think we've all seen the video by now of President Trump insisting to President Ramaphosa that there is a genocide taking place against white Afrikaner farmers in South Africa, despite Ramaphosa's efforts to fact-check. Trump demanded to dim the lights and roll the clip. He even brandished a stack of printed news articles that he said documents that persecution. But despite all of that alleged proof, Trump has misrepresented the fact. I want to start with these articles in particular. At one point, the US president flipped through his paperwork. He says death, death, death on each page. He says that these were all published in the last few days, and that one headline and that all the headlines show white farmers being buried. Now, at one point in particular, he held up a headline to the camera here. We can see the headline clearly. It says, "Let's talk about Africa, which is where tribalism takes you," published by a blog called The American Thinker. There's also a thumbnail here of bodies being buried as well. Now, this article that he's holding is still online. It's pretty easily findable. And unlike what he said about this all being in the last few days, this blog post is not. It's dated February 13th earlier this year. As for the image that he said there shows white farmers being buried, this is not even in South Africa. This is actually an image of aid workers burying bodies in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, how do we know that? Well, it's pretty clear, linked here at the bottom in the blog post itself. It says image, YouTube screen grab. Pretty easy to click on the link and it takes us straight there to a report published by Indian media WION using Reuters footage showing women being buried following a mass jailbreak in Goma. So not South Africa, Yinka, but the DRC. And it is a story that is months old as well, unlike what Trump claimed in his meeting.
And Vedika, Trump also was very keen to show that alleged video proof to President Ramaphosa as well. Talk us through how accurate that video was.
Yes, that's right. Trump was pretty keen to roll his compilation clip. Well, it started out with archive footage of Julius Malema, who is a South African black nationalist politician. That's possibly why President Ramaphosa stifled a slight smile when he heard that voice ring out, because it is a voice that he recognizes. Now, Malema previously led the ruling ANC party's youth wing, but he was expelled around 2020. He has never held an official government position, despite Trump's misconception there. He now leads a minority party in South Africa called the Economic Freedom Fighters. And President Ramaphosa did reiterate this to Trump, that he is very much a minority with no executive role. And this has nothing to do with his government's official policy. Now, later in that compilation clip, there's also a video, an archive video of the former president, Jacob Zuma, singing a controversial apartheid-era song that includes the lyric, "Shoot the Boer," the Boers of which, the descendants of which are the white Afrikaners in South Africa. Now, this is a controversial song. The ANC did promise to stop singing the song after that. Now, Trump said in this meeting that those singing were officials in office, but this is simply not true. This video is well over 10 years old with no officials in office shown. Again, Ramaphosa did tell Trump directly in the meeting that these videos, these speeches, these rallies in his compilation have little to nothing to do with the way he runs his government. Now, I want to turn to the final video in Trump's compilation there. It shows white crosses lining a rural highway. Let me bring that up so you can see that better. But this is the video that the president played for President Ramaphosa. Trump said that this shows burial sites of over 1,000 white farmers, with each cross representing a different farmer that was killed. But these are not graves at all. According to local news, this was in fact from a protest in 2020, so 5 years ago now, in memorial for a white farming couple that was killed in their home, according to the police report. According to the Google Street View, dated from 2023, we can see that these have been removed and that they no longer exist. Now, Elon Musk did post this video twice on his platform X in the last 6 months. We can see him sharing that video as well. Now, overall, Trump's compilation does mislead that there is a wave of anti-white hate and white genocide taking place in South Africa. And while the country does have a very high murder rate, it's around an average of 72 people a day in a country that has a population of 60 million people, most of these victims are black. And I just want to end with these figures from the South African Police Service from 2024. They recorded over 26,000 murders in 2024. 44 of these were within the farming community, and out of that, only 8 of those were farmers, Yinka. So I think that's a good point.